In part one of Navigating Nutrition, we discuss our research on organic foods, what to expect with conventionally farmed proteins and dairy, and which produce is part of the dairy dozen and is encouraged to consume organic. Okay, guys, welcome to our 3-part nutrition podcast. We've been getting a lot of questions about nutrition, so we wanted to do it justice. And then we got into tons of research and are now going to put this into a multiple part series. So we are also hailing from Washington for this podcast. This is my first time in Washington. TC, do you want to tell them why we're here?
Yeah, sure. Max moved back. Max and Danae moved back to Washington.
That's his brother and sister-in-law.
I guess kind of recently. And within the past year and a half,
Recently.
He bought this house this year.
Yeah.
And it's 7.5 acre property and it needs some farmhands basically. So we put up a fence. Just part of the outer border of the property, and then the past probably a month or so, we've been working on putting this metal building up for basically agricultural storage of his equipment, because now he's got a tractor, he's got a little skid steer, he's accruing bigger piece of equipment that he wanted some storage for. So
Yeah.
it's been fun. My dad's up. When we first got here, Joanne and Sam and my mom were also here, and a couple of Danae's sisters were also here. So it's been a full house most of the time that we've been here. But it's been fun.
3 dogs, 3 chickens.
Yeah.
Coyotes that night, pretty sure.
It's wild.
Yeah. This is very new experience for me, just being from Philadelphia.
This city girl.
And but it's been great. It's been fun. I've never seen trees this big. I'm looking out the window right now. It's an enormous tree. And it's definitely like a whole different world here.
Yeah, there have been some really cool mornings where there's been like a lot of fog, and it's been very surreal looking and feeling, because the other aspect of Washington, which is completely different than Fort, it's like literally the exact opposite. There's very little real wind. Every once in a while, there will be a little bit of a breeze.
That's true.
But it's very still. And in Florida, you wake up and it is windy. And it is always windy. But being, 10 minutes from the beach or 3 hours from the other beach, there's just constant air movement. Whereas here, especially where Max is, there's just trees surrounding the entire thing. And even down off the hill, it's just a much calmer climate. And which makes us laugh when people complain about rain or just weather here, or mosquitoes or humidity.
Yes.
It's funny. So but yeah, it's been an experience.
Yeah, definitely. And we've been here,
This is beginning of August.
I think 6 weeks, because my train log, I'm keeping track, and I started my new block when we got here, and today I saw that we're serving 6 weeks. So yeah.
Yeah, which normally we record this podcast a little earlier. And we were, maybe we'll go home next week, maybe. So now we finally decided to just go ahead and pull the cord. We got these Rode Wireless Pro microphones, just to kind of test it out for when we're doing these podcasts on the road. So we'll see how it goes. It's another fun adventure.
Yeah. A couple of people were asking, where are you?
Yeah, we missed Cornell's birthday. His birthday party was last weekend. I think he said his birthday is the 6th, September 6th. So
Let's see.
remember that. Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a blessing to have friends and family all over, because you can always travel to a new place and spend time with them.
And to have the flexibility to be able to do that.
Yeah.
We spent, a week or two at my mom's house. We spent a week and a half at your parents' house, during my last prep. And it's just nice to have some of the flexibility to be able to go help our family when they need it, or go spend time with their family when we need it.
And so that's a priority. And so, yeah, we're able to do that with our cow.
Yeah. That's nice.
All right, so let's start talking about nutrition and food. This podcast is part one, we'll talk a lot about whole foods versus processed foods, and I will go into some specifics when it comes to like choosing protein sources mainly, but we'll go into some produce as well too, because I feel like it's very confusing. The fitness industry is already very confusing. I talk to people who are like, I don't know what to eat. I don't know what I should cut out, what macros I should eat, how many calories should I have? Should I buy this? Should I buy that? Yeah. And it's always changing because you have to remember that people are always trying to market something and they're always trying to get a consumer to purchase something. Yeah. So it's about being intelligent, making sure that you are doing your own research. And that's why we kind of did ours to prepare for this podcast to help kind of bridge the gap and make it a little bit easier when you're going shopping, to know what your choices really are.
Yeah. And there's different tiers too, right? Which is something we'll discuss later on the podcast, but, depending on what your goals are with your either athletic performance or, just whatever it might be, we just want to give you the tools and the priority list so that you know what to look for and what to prioritize, right? Like if you only have a certain budget, we want to make sure that you're getting most bang for your buck. Like you said, we want to help you navigate the nutritional maze that
that's a good way.
Yeah, can often be what people run into.
So. Yeah. So we do have our computers open because there's tons of research and references, and we want to make sure that we're thorough.
We don't miss anything.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a multi-level document that we've been going over for, again, like 6 weeks.
Before that, because I had it. Yeah. Anyway,
it's been lengthy.
Yeah.
But anyways, why don't you start off talking about the tiers, if you don't mind?
Yeah, sure. So I think like the biggest idea that we want you to take home is the difference in fueling capacity from whole foods versus processed foods, and what the definition of each of those two things is, right? Because man, you might get in a chat group online and see, well, if you cook something, it's processing it is. Yes, but like that's not the processing that we're talking about, right? Like
people talk about grinding up meat as now as a processed food,
which in a way, okay, it might impart some extra heavy metals in there because of the machinery that it's done on, but
sure.
Again, the purpose of this podcast and this miniseries is to help you not get lost in some of the details that don't necessarily matter, and to really just pinpoint the variables that do matter and that can give you appreciable differences in your training over time. Because I also don't think that, making any one of these single changes is going to make you wake up tomorrow and feel like a brand new person, right? But it's the cumulative change that ends up working for people, and enhancing performance, right? Like food is the best PED that you're going to be able to utilize,
Yeah.
So whether you're a assisted athlete or natural athlete.
So your tiers.
So there's whole foods, which is not processed at all, right? These are going to be your single ingredient foods, like eggs or milk or beef or chicken or fish, ideally fresh. Like if you go to Whole Foods and you go to the butcher bar and you ask for a steak, right? That's going to be a nice whole food option. Then we have minimally processed foods, which is going to be like your flash frozen vegetables, right? And we say this is minimally processed because the one process that it goes through, which is getting frozen, is really just preserving some of the nutrients in these fruits and veggies, before they can start to deteriorate in the, farm to table process.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there's ultra processed foods, which is going to add a ton of artificial ingredients, I guess. Yeah, like preservatives, your extra flavorings, your artificial sweeteners, which we'll get into that a lot more in our next podcast episode. But it's going to add some, the preservatives to enhance shelf life. They're generally going to be prepackaged. They're going to have longer ingredients lists. And it's just going to be more micro items that can cause certain levels of inflammation in your body that your body now has to, even if it's a tiny little bit, that's 1% that is taking away from your like muscle recovery, right? And if you're training like an animal, sometimes you can't afford that, and we just have to be very careful with what leeway we give ourselves in terms of diet and nutrition.
So for this podcast, we're looking at the lower tier is processed foods, the second tier is whole foods, and the top tier is like your organic, best quality whole foods.
Yeah, and we really want that to look like kind of an inverted pyramid where the processed food is like the smallest part of your diet, right? Okay, you want to have a treat every once in a while, that's fine. But you don't want to make it like the base of a pyramid where most of what you're eating is this ultra processed junk food. We want the majority of the food that you're ingesting to be like real whole food ingredients that you prepared yourself.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think in different stages of your training, or if you're prepping for a bodybuilding competition, especially, and we're really trying to lower inflammation for a specific look, at some point we just eliminate that small processed food for a period of time.
Yeah.
I have seen visual changes in people with removing something that says it's 0 calories, like it shouldn't be any problem, or it's a healthy food, but it has some extra ingredients in it. And if we just cut those out completely, a lot of times I'll see like, now we're seeing new detail. We're seeing waistline come in. Like, it's crazy what you put in your body really affects things, not only on a cellular level, but a performance level, and then also visually as well too. I mean, I had someone most recently tell me they were drinking protein shakes and stopped drinking them for a while, went back to drinking them, and she's like, I noticed that my face is inflamed.
Yeah.
Like, I feel puffier in my face, and when you're consuming something on a regular basis, you might not notice the difference. You pull it out, you might notice a difference there. But if you're like becoming aware of what's happening with your body and you're more in tune with it, sometimes integrating it back in is, I think, the biggest telltale.
It's kind of like in a practicing exclusion diet, right? Like you cut it all out to where you know what you're eating is going to be basically good for you and not inflammatory. And then you start to gradually add other things in to see how it affects you. And I think that's a really powerful tool, but it does require a lot of time and a very systematic approach to your diet. So having general rules to be able to follow, I think, can be very beneficial for people because it kind of eliminates the need for this long drawn out process of figuring out if you can have that junk food or not, right? And if you just decide I'm not going to eat that because I feel like it has, done this to me in the past, I think it's gonna make your process a little easier. But like you said, there's time and place for everything.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's give some realistic examples for people so they can kind of understand. So if we're looking at the bottom tier and it's and say we're thinking of protein, let's just do like protein as an example. A processed protein option would be
Protein bars, protein shakes.
Yeah. Okay. So something that has a bunch of additives and extra stuff in it, says that has protein in it, but comes with other ingredients.
Yeah.
What would be a protein option? That would be like a whole food source.
Beef, chicken, fish.
At a tier 2, and then a tier 3 would be.
Oh, I guess tier 3 would be beef, chicken, and fish.
Well, I would put tier 3 as like organic grass-fed beef.
Okay.
And tier 2 is.
You might put beef jerky in tier 2, right? Because that's going to be.
Yeah, let's do that.
But it is still just beef strips and some sort of preservative in there. So, but yeah, if you want to look at it like that, I think that might be an extra tier, right? Of going the next step of eating all organic or grass-fed or pasture-raised stuff, which, we'll get into in the rest of this podcast. So yeah, babe, let's talk about like the nutrition density profile of whole foods versus processed foods. What have you found to be like there's some differences and maybe some micronutrients or even macronutrients that like would be found in whole foods versus processed foods.
Yeah, sure. Let me refer to my notes here. Okay. So I think most people know that processed food is bad for them, but they don't know why. And I think for me, especially understanding why something is good or bad for me helps me adhere a little bit better because I'm like, well, yeah, I really don't want that versus just like, don't do that.
Yeah, yeah. It feels very restrictive instead of knowing, like having a reason. You're not giving something up when you know the reason. You're, choosing this instead of feeling like you're having to restrict yourself.
Exactly. And this Harvard School of Public Health has reported ultra processed foods are associated with high risk of inflammation. So whether you're a human being or an athlete, like a huge issue with inflammation causing the cascade of other issues. Heart disease, metabolic dysfunction, and even depression. So even we think of like heavy hitters of like heart disease or diabetes, but also just like your everyday quality of life can be impacted by consuming things that your body just can't utilize effectively.
Yeah.
Okay, and to answer your question, nutrient density for whole foods, right? So whole foods have fiber. Now, processed foods won't have fiber, but we want naturally occurring fiber that's actually going to do what it needs to do with our digestive system, and just eliminating waste, detoxification, managing blood sugar. That's where whole foods and natural fiber are going to be really beneficial. Whole foods also have phytochemicals and antioxidants, which help reduce with oxidative stress and again, cycling back around to inflammation. So the way foods are designed and created are serving a specific purpose within our body. And then we have micronutrients like magnesium, B vitamins. A lot of foods, especially processed packaged foods, are always fortified with a lot of things. But there's something to be said about natural food bringing natural microingredients because honestly, certain vitamins and minerals are paired with each other for a specific reason, for a specific function within your body. And so for things that are essential for us, like our how we utilize oxygen delivery, muscular contraction, our nervous system. So making sure that we're getting something that's well-rounded versus just like cherry picking certain things or collaborating. And also, if you have a lot of fortified foods too, you can have too much vitamins and minerals. You can fall into that trap as well. Yeah,
So my breakfast cereal is fortified with all the vitamins and minerals.
it's a breakfast of champions.
It also has 10 grams of fiber per serving and 20 ounces of protein per serving. Why can't I just have that for breakfast?
That's some added sugars. And protein is what, 5 grams?
Well, regardless of how much it is, how much they put in there, right? It's going to be some sort of like process, like maybe even if it's whey protein isolate that they put in there, it's still a processed food. And we'll go into like differences between whole food protein, thermogenic effect versus, processed later on. But
Well, here's my theory that I have thought about. If your body is made to have all these like systems in place to keep you healthy, right? And we don't even know how many things are happening. I think that we've not fully discovered everything happening on a cellular level.
yeah.
But our body is very intricate.
Yeah.
So if we are putting things in our body, like people say, I had a protein bar, I had protein today. Great. But here's my question to you. Has your body really absorbed that protein? If it is also trying to clean out what chemical additives are added in there, is it trying to combat inflammation that now this extra ingredient is brought into your system? How much like extra work are we asking our body to do when we're consuming the right food, but we're also consuming a lot of other ingredients with it that's now having to work overdrive? Like there's this whole theory on if you are drinking alcohol and consuming fat, your liver's on overdrive because it has to detoxify the alcohol. It's going to prioritize that because it sees it as the bigger threat. So now it's not really working as optimally with fat metabolism. So we're getting fat storage there. So I think I don't have any proof to say that like eating a protein bar is not beneficial. But when I'm thinking about efficiency in anything, I don't want my body to be bogged down with trying to do extra things that it doesn't need to do if my real goal is to consume protein.
Sure. Yeah. And I think there's also a question about bioavailability of
Yes.
synthetic vitamins and minerals versus like naturally derived vitamins and minerals, like folate versus folic acid, right? Like folic acid is basically useless, but they can pump it into things and they can say that it has it.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah, but it's your body. It's not very bioavailable. Your body can't really absorb it. Whereas folate, like from dark leafy greens, your body is going to be able to absorb and use that, right? So, and then another one that I like to talk about all the time is B12, cyanocobalamin versus methylcobalamin, and methylated vitamins are going to be more closely linked to like being closer to the bioavailable nutrients that you can find in our foods versus like the cyanocobalamin, which is synthetically derived, and now your body has to process that. It has to separate the cyanide. So it's just like there's a lot of extra processes, just like you were talking about, that your body has to go through in order to maybe make use of that, right? And it's probably just another waste product, right? And now your body is just processing more waste product.
And if we're thinking about being optimal, which I think everyone should look to be optimal in some form of fashion, but athletes especially are looking to be optimal because at some point it comes down to like small percentages of differences. And
well, pre-workout is 2 to 3% performance increase. That's what they've seen, and that's if that, right?
yeah,
And everyone takes that,
yeah,
but no one cares about their 8 hours of sleep, their gallon of water a day, eating whole foods. Like,
yeah. But yes, so I think like and understanding what is synthetic and what is not, like your point to the B vitamins, like caffeine, same thing. Like so crazy to me that I will feel different on like consuming a different derivative of caffeine anhydrous,
yeah, versus like natural.
which is in everything basically, and it's cheap, will increase my anxiety. So I'll have energy.
But actually, they've done studies on that. They know that, and companies are still using that versus green coffee. Now you can more easily find green coffee bean or green tea derived caffeine or stuff like that these days. But man, still, like you said, it's still much more popular to find the caffeine anhydrous.
Yeah. So and just be an educated consumer. And I think we're all trying to also like be smart with our money. Like we're all trying to like, I want to spend money on the things that are going to actually make a difference. So that's why I think like just doing your research, and hopefully this podcast will help.
Yeah, you want to get the most bang for your buck, right? I mean, everything is more expensive these days, and sometimes it feels like I don't want to throw my money away on organic food, on grass-fed food, because it's like twice the price. Literally, the kiwis were twice the price this morning.
Yeah.
It was like 50% more, I think, for the organic.
That's happened to me with potatoes.
Mhm.
I've had to like stand there and make a choice.
Yeah, and just sometimes you don't have it, but like it all depends on what your goals are and just being educated enough to make that decision. And there's this thing from this book series I'm reading it. Take what you want and pay for it, right? And just know that if you have that piece of pizza, you might feel like shit the next day. If you have that Ben and Jerry's, you might feel like shit the next day. Whereas if you eat all your whole foods and you're getting enough protein, then you're probably going to wake up and you're going to have a nicely fueled workout where you're going to get a good pump and you're going to feel strong, and your mental clarity is going to be on point. And it's like these slight differences can really add up over time, especially.
I was saying, yes, that is so true. And that brings me to like, I know a lot of people say calories in, calories out, all calories the same, blah, blah. I used to be in that camp of like, well, I'm just going to eat a real big, nice meal. I'm going to have a burger, fries, and ice cream. That's my big, nice meal. And then I'll have all this like food that will fuel me for my workout tomorrow. That's a huge thought process of like, great, I'm going to be able to use this.
Yeah.
But I would notice that I wouldn't feel energetic the next day. That I would almost feel like more lethargic than I had been when I was eating better. And I think through like a lot of my own experiences, you learn to navigate which foods you work really well for you and which don't. Sugar is like definitely something I have to keep in check because it affects my mood, like mood dysregulation, and it does affect my performance in the gym largely.
Yeah.
So it's not just like how I look, but it is a lot of my quality of life that I make certain food choices.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think sugar is a big one too. I think white sugar is very inflammatory. I think we know they've done studies where consuming white sugar decreases white blood cell count and people's blood serum. And I think it's just like there's so many correlations between, sugar in the blood, diabetes, sugar in your brain, dementia, sugar in your livers, the fatty liver disease. And there's just so many issues, but sugar is in everything because it's more addictive than a lot of the drugs that they tell you to worry about. So yeah, I think it's like we said, it's being educated and knowing what to look for. So
Well, people want to eat what's palatable as well. And if you're used to consuming sugar, then you want more. Then you're going to continue to want that. It's stuff without it is going to taste bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is like a whole, when we're looking to clean up our diet, there's a little bit of like, I think lifetime in reframing like your taste buds and what you're used to. And, but your body like becomes accustomed to what you do for it on a regular basis. So that's the negative thing is it might be accustomed to a bad behavior. The positive thing is you can rework that.
Yes.
And that it becomes just more of a habit and less of like, oh, I have to constantly make this choice. So yeah.
Yeah. I love it.
Okay. Yeah. Athletes.
How can some of these ultra processed foods inhibit performance? And we know most of the time we cover athletes, but I think that, like you have alluded to, it's very important for even just general lifestyle people because while that person you're talking about earlier with the protein shakes, she, I don't think, would identify herself as an athlete per se, but she does have athletic goals, she has aesthetic goals, and she's trying to start a family. So, and how much of the population does that describe right now, right? Like of people who don't compete in something, but they can use these nutritional or training principles and guidelines to make their life better and to make them, make it easier for them to reach these goals and aspirations that they're working towards.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's talk about some of the performance quote unquote, performance decreases that we might see with some ultra processed foods.
Okay, yeah. So we can see some compromise with systemic inflammation. So we can see that in labs that we can test for CRP, which is C-reactive protein, or our interleukin-6. Both are indicators of just inflammation within the blood. So we do see that people who consume more processed foods have higher levels of these on a regular basis. We can also see insulin sensitivity being disrupted. Not just like processed foods lead to diabetes or insulin resistance, but more or less like if we are looking kind of like saying before to really use everything we're consuming to help our body like positively, we can have recovery impacted because we're just like our food is being distributed in different spots, or we're trying to break down food in a different way.
Or it's having to deal with these, preservatives or flavorings or artificial sweeteners that are in these ultra processed foods, and your body sees all stress the same, and it can't put as many resources toward muscle recovery.
Yeah, I just think nutrition, like partitioning, is impacted when we're consuming something that might be more processed. And satiety is a big one.
Yeah. How many of you out there have had a protein bar and 20 minutes later said, "Man, I am still freaking hungry"?
Yes, and when I get a new client, a lot of times, and we're working on nutrition, the first thing I will do is just kind of like take into account what they're consuming, and then we start to try and like modify the macros accordingly so that they'll be helpful. So protein will start to increase, but a lot of times people are scared because they are thinking like, this is too little calories. Like I can't, like that might be too little for me. I'm going to be super hungry. But when you start eating whole foods, you realize how full you can be. Just by eating more fiber or more food value or something that's taking a little bit more time for your body to digest, which is a good thing. That'll be a good thing. And then from there, we kind of work on bringing up their calories so that we want to make sure you're getting a full spectrum of macro and micronutrients so that you're feeling healthy. But people who are eating processed foods sometimes are really under eating. And so making that adjustment can be, it can take some time.
Yeah.
And I think it's also like metabolism adaptation too, right? And I think when people are eating, like when they're trying to ultra restrict the caloric intake, a lot of times their activity level comes down too, and they feel lethargic, they feel tired all the time, and then they might overeat because generally mental like tiredness is a big indicator of whether or not someone's going to binge eat. Or DB from plan or, however you want to describe it.
Yes, exactly. And I think blood sugar regulation is really important, when we're circling back around just people in general, but also athletes. If we're managing our blood sugars, we are keeping our body out of a fight or flight stress response, because especially as women, when we are fasting or crazy hungry, we're a little bit more sensitive to that cortisol response. But I don't think it's just only women. I think I've seen men get grumpy when they or not be eating on a regular basis, maybe. And there's just there's a benefit to making sure that what you're eating is good, but then also like consuming it on a consistent basis throughout the day, just to keep mood regulated, stress response low, you functioning at your best, limiting brain fog. And if you're an athlete, when you go into the gym, you want to be performing well.
Yeah.
You don't want your body to be distracted by trying to break down this food or detox from these extra chemicals. You want it like, okay, we have this, we have all these like building blocks. Like, let's pull glucose when we need to. Let's perform optimally. Let's really make sure that all micronutrients are supporting a good lift.
Yeah, if your body isn't having to decipher whether this is a real nutrient or something we have to get rid of, it can put all of its focus on just utilizing the nutrients that you're giving to it. And I think a really good thing to remember is that our body is constantly regenerating cells, right?
Yes.
And it can only use what you give it to use. And would you rather have new cells made from a Big Mac, or would you rather have new cells made from a nice piece of grass-fed pasture-raised steak, right? And when I put it in those terms in my brain, like it's not just, it doesn't end with the palatability of this food. Now I'm also thinking about what my body is doing with that food, because it's not just going through and excreting it, right? It's putting it to use to build things. And yeah, for bodybuilders and powerlifters, we're talking about muscle. And okay, you can even say that like the quality of your muscle is just, in my opinion, gonna be better, right? And that's why we'll go into this later, but that's why grass-fed pasture-raised animals generally have a better nutrient profile than grain-fed barn-raised mass-produced animals, which yeah, we'll get into that later. So
What you consume is what you are.
in addition, it's like,
What you eat.
yeah, you are what you eat, and like that's true. Like something cliche, but it's true, right? And not only that, I think but just the thermogenic effect of the food that you eat, right? Like when you eat whole foods, the thermogenic effect is going to be like what, 20 to 30%, right? Versus like processed foods is closer to 10%, right? Yeah. So like it's just more efficient for your body to eat whole foods versus the hyper palatable, engineered to taste good, ultra processed foods.
And that's for protein, the protein thermic effective food, which is your highest macronutrient that's going to produce the most thermic effect because it takes much longer to body break down protein than a carb or fat. So you want to get some good bang for your buck.
Yeah, you just want your again, we're talking about efficiency here, right? Everyone's living this fast-paced lifestyle, and we want to make sure that what we're doing is bringing us to our goals, whatever those goals are, whether it's the Olympia stage or whether it's the World Championships or whether it's being the best parent role model possible for our kids. No matter what it is, we want to make sure that we're doing it as efficiently as possible to make sure that we're, you know, being as productive as possible.
Yes, yes. So yeah, and thermic effect of food is how the like rate of your body breaking down that. So it's more or less like curve your metabolism.
Yeah, it's like how many calories does your body have to use to break down this food?
Yes, thank you. That's what most of my readers explain it. Yeah, so you want to be, if you want to be like losing weight, like you want to be able to have your food work for you, I guess is a way to say it.
Exactly. Yep.
And yeah, and also if we're looking at carbohydrates and just the benefits that they can add, if we have carbohydrates that have fiber in them, we're gonna also have the benefit of like it being a little bit slower in our digestion, so we're gonna have higher rates of satiety. And then also, which again helps regulate our blood sugars, which we talked about the benefits of that. And carbohydrates will also affect our GLP-1, which is like the big thing everybody's talking about right now. GLP-1 exists in your body. You know, it just is there already. It's a glucagon-like peptide, a hormone that's produced in your small intestines, which helps with a couple of things. It triggers insulin response, glucagon secretion, which is just regulating your blood sugar amount. And then helps with satiety as well. So
keep you full.
yes, yeah. So it's basically helping your blood sugars stay balanced, you to feel good, and for you to not have like these big ebbs and flows with, now you're super hungry, or you have a blood sugar spike. And I think that oftentimes affects our energy, our fatigue throughout the day too. People complain about fatigue, and they needed to drink like all this coffee, and supplement with caffeine, which I'm not against caffeine, but we do want to make sure that our energy needs are being met through hydration and food and sleep and rest versus just trying to always complement it with a caffeine switch.
Yes. Yeah, which I've definitely gone through periods in my life where I have survived on caffeine.
Me too.
And not food, right? Like no food.
Oh, I don't know if I did that.
And A, you're more irritable. B, you generally speaking, I have experienced higher urges for junk food because you don't feel super hungry, but your body knows it's hungry, and your brain just wants these hyperpalatable things, and that's probably because I'm drinking energy drinks when I'm in this phase.
Interesting.
Yeah, so and like the artificial sweeteners are ultra sweet, so it still makes your body want that sweetness. And I've read about like, you know, sugar deficit with artificial sweeteners, and then studies come out and say it's not real. But I'll tell you what, if you're eating sweet things, your body's going to crave sweet things, whether it's sugar or artificial sweetener. I got news for you, the companies don't care. Whatever you're addicted to, they're going to keep selling it for you.
Which, by the way, I knew way back before they had the study that came out that it affects your insulin levels. These artificial sweeteners don't affect insulin levels. That's why people who have diabetes, they should eat artificial sweeteners, like use your sweet and low, don't use table sugar. Okay. I remember being in prep, drinking BCAAs because that's what you were supposed to do, is drink tons of BCAAs. And
She's being facetious, everybody.
I remember thinking that I would crave BCAAs. I'm like, if this is supposed to like help me like regulate blood sugars, like if this is having no metabolic response to me at all, like artificial sweeteners are safe, why am I craving this thing? It's affecting me in some way,
Yeah.
whether it's like a dopamine release or something, but so does sugar. And I would also have like these like little bouts of like blood sugar drops because I was really struggling through a prep way back. And I would drink BCAAs. Now I know that I think it's valine, that BCAA, that's supposed to help with blood sugar regulation. But it was the like act of consuming something that was sweet that I felt like made me think that my body was getting something it needed that was affecting my blood sugars. So, and then they later on came out and that was a scientific report that said, oh, by the way, this does affect your insulin. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And that's rampant, right, in the food industry. Now, aspartame used to be fine, and then people were allergic to it, but that's just some people. And now there's studies showing that aspartame increases blood pressure, right? Like it
Links to cancer as well.
links to cancer. I think that was probably the first one, people were allergic to it, and that was all coming out. I think they tried to sweep it under the rug by saying, no, these people are just allergic, which is BS. And it causes arterial wall hardening, leading to increased blood pressure. So no, the cholesterol that you're eating in your healthy red meat is not increasing your cholesterol or your blood pressure. It's, probably having a lot more to do with these artificial things that you probably don't need to be eating. So, and that's not to say that they're like dietary fat sources and stuff are, all good, right? But the less processed that these sources are, the better chance your body has at being accustomed to utilizing those nutrients properly.
Yeah. And I would say everything in moderation.
Mm-hmm.
Like we use supplements that have sweeteners in them. But that's what I limit it to. I do not.
Well, it's like right now, I'm eating 230 grams of protein a day, but I'm not having any protein shakes. And all my artificial sweeteners are coming from my hydrocharge because I want to make sure that I'm staying hydrated throughout the day.
Right.
And that's something that makes it really easy for me to continually drink stuff. And I may or may not cut that out before my show, right? If we feel like I'm looking a little soft, then we might cut it out, but then we run the risk of like the electrolyte imbalance, right? So it's just, again, it's a cost benefit analysis, and it's everything in moderation, and it's knowing the macro view so that you can make these micro decisions.
Yeah. So I want that to be clear that this podcast is not like this is bad and this is good.
Yes.
I think everything in moderation and for a specific purpose for the individual, because I do know that some people would benefit from this specific case. So I don't want it to be like we're demonizing and glorifying specific things. But I do think that does happen in the industry, and I just want to debunk some of those. But really, at the end of the day, it is, like you said, big scale and what is best for the individual.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So let's.
Oh yeah, and I had so many thoughts on your caffeine thing too, and it making you crave sweet, because caffeine is a suppressant, an appetite suppressant.
Yeah.
And so it's, you're like not thinking about food, but then you also have something sweet.
Which is, it could also be like craving those sweet things could also be a different, and it's a different hunger, not even hunger, but it's a different desire pathway through your brain, right? It's like like you were saying earlier, the dopamine that's released when you have, very sweet foods.
I wonder if it's similar to like when you have like a meal out, or it's just a meal out. When you have like junk food, like you have a burger and fries, you think that you should have ice cream after it. Like, I wonder if there's some correlation between like what is happening to your brain when you're consuming something like that that's telling you need something else. You know what I mean?
I'm sure. Yeah, sure.
Like you get in a loop.
Yeah. Well, and that's to your point earlier about there are so many different processes, and that like I think any individual researcher is going to have their own preconceived notion, and they're going to try to prove this, right? And I've been going through that with like rehab and movement protocol, right? And when you have a physical therapist analyzing this injury, they're probably just going to analyze it through their lens of their physical therapy schooling. When you have a neurological specialist analyzing movement things, they're going to attack it in a different way.
Yeah.
If you put those two things together, you're probably going to have a better result, right? But so many people are so caught up on this one thing, and this is what it's doing, especially in these days with the social media algorithms, and they just want black and white shit. And it is generally not black and white. It's generally multifaceted, and the answer is always, it depends, but that's not what sells. right? So unfortunately, we'll probably never go viral because we are not the black and white people that say, do this, don't do that. We want to give you the information and allow you to make certain decisions on a daily basis for yourself so that your life and your aspirations are met most efficiently.
Which, to hit on that point, I will say this. Just because there is not a scientific study proving something doesn't mean that it's not true.
Yes.
I think some people get really hung up on like, well, there's no study saying this is true, so it can't be true. Like the BCA and the Art of the Sweeter things. I knew something was not right, but there's no proof. Everybody's saying that it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. So just because there's not a study proving it doesn't mean that it's not true. And that's why I think like understanding what's happening in the world and understanding your body can give you like very good tools to navigating this. And I think even if there is a study proving something, that also doesn't always mean that is true, because there's a ton of variation between individuals.
Yeah.
There's always someone funding the study to be considered. And something could be true for a specific period of time, not be true later. Or have we looked at long-term effects? Like, I think studies are great, and I think that there is definitely a purpose, but I don't think they are the end-all be-all to our knowledge and what we should be doing.
Yeah, I think the conclusions should not be drawn as black and white conclusions. They should say it looks like this correlates to this.
Yeah.
Right.
Like use it as a tool, also a tool, not a like definitive measure.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
So we are in our part 2. We're going to be talking about artificial sweeteners. We're talking about like seed oils and cooking oils and other additives. We're going to be talking about cookware and stuff. The rest of this episode, we wanted to really kind of dive a little deeper into the monikers that are used to describe different types of whole foods.
Yeah.
Right. And we're going to go over protein sources and fruits and veggies.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So first up is beef, my favorite.
So it's for dinner.
Yeah, beef. It's what's for dinner.
It is what's for dinner.
And which and we'll also talk about some milk and dairy products too.
Yeah.
But yeah, first
protein sources.
yeah, let's talk about the difference between like grain, they call it grain finished, versus like grass fed pasture raised organic beef. And I know you've done a lot of research on that. So, yeah, I'm going to give you the full
lesson over to me. Okay. Yes. So everyone kind of wants to know, is grass-fed beef or fennec? From the research that I've done, which was a lot, I have a lot of stuff that's come up, both on, like reports. I'm looking at reports. I'm looking at a bunch of analyses. Grass-fed beef has come up with a report of higher levels of omega-3 fatty acids, CLA, vitamin E, and there has been some reports saying that there's a better, less fat in a grass-fed beef, which I think that's an argumentative point. But
I guess the things like steak, it might make sense. Right? Like, you get a top sirloin that's grass-fed versus a top sirloin that's not grass-fed, then that top sirloin that's conventional might have a little more fat content.
I think a grass-fed cow is also going to live a very different life than grain-fed cows. So there's other things to take into consideration than just the food that they're consuming.
Yeah.
But there is a better nutritional profile in grass-fed beef. I will say, I believe that it tastes much better as well.
Yeah, I would agree.
My dad, who has no sense of smell, he's not had sense of smell since a little kid. It can't taste really the difference of anything. Just everything tastes delicious to him. Has told my mom that he prefers grass-fed beef and he can taste a difference. I have never heard him say anything like that in my entire life. I had a client that was in peak week and she was getting ready and I told her, I want you to have grass-fed beef. Let's put some 937 grass-fed beef in here. And she's telling me, like, this is the best thing I've ever eaten in my entire life. And she's like, I just never bought beef from Aldi before. And I'm like, I think that it's because it's grass-fed beef. And like when you're dieting, sometimes everything just tastes amazing.
Hey, throw some salt on there, and I'll tell you that beef and rice and the right for meal.
But I do think it tastes better. Yeah. I have a hard time eating like grain-fed beef now than I've been eating grass-fed beef.
Yeah, that's one thing that we don't really skimp on anymore.
Yeah.
We went for 90 today instead of the 96 conventional because the 90 was grass-fed.
Yeah. So again, I think it has a better nutritional profile from the stuff that I have been seeing. Now the things that's reporting that are good are CLA, which is higher in grass-fed animals or grass-fed beef.
Yeah. Much higher.
Yes. And CLA has been reported to alter body composition.
CLA is great. It has a lot of benefits.
Yes. So for people who are like, oh, you want to have every edge, CLA is helpful for that. Now, CLA supplementation, I can't speak on because I didn't do research on that. But again, when we're talking about things naturally occurring, I think there's a benefit to like where it's coming from and maybe having some complementary micronutrients with it. But yeah, CLA, great for a lot of things.
There was one study in the British Nutritional Journal about some basically anti-carcinogenic effects of CLA. And it was just done in lab animals, right? It wasn't, I don't believe there are any human studies, but it did show like tumor size decreasing with CLA supplementation. And that was just in that.
There's another thing I have on here for... anti-carcinogenic, immunostimulatory, so helping stimulate the immune system, and weight reducing properties.
Yeah.
And then it's also been linked to improved brain function, anti-atherogenic effects, and lower levels of blood lipids. So when we're worried about like our cholesterol and our fat content when it comes with beef, actually there are some things that are complementary to heart health when it comes to consuming grass-fed beef.
Yeah. So higher CLA.
Omega-3s, which that also, it says, helps with lowering triglyceride levels, reducing blood pressure, and reducing the risk of arrhythmias. So a lot of things that and when you hear omega-3s, people don't necessarily think beef.
No.
They think
Usually fish.
salmon.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks salmon.
Yeah.
But
as the ratio too of omega-3 to omega-6, that's better.
Exactly. So, you have some heart healthy things with higher amounts of omega-3s in grass-fed beef than versus grain-fed. So there's heart health benefits, there's brain function, aids in there. Aids, that's a funny way to say it. But they've reported that the DHEA that's also in grass-fed beef helps with improving memory, helping combat things like Alzheimer's, dementia, improving depression, anxiety. So
Inflammation.
yeah, omega-3s are great for tons of things. They say eye health is supposed to be helpful for eye health. So omega-3s are very important. I think they get touted as great, but I don't think people utilize them as much as they should.
Yeah, I think you were saying earlier, just to back up to the CLA, that if you eat the grass-fed pasture-raised beef, you can get an adequate amount of CLA in your diet versus when you eat the conventional, you probably aren't going to get enough.
And that's what I think matters is that's why I think like the source and the amounts of these ingredients in the meat content make a difference.
Yeah, and how many supplements are you purchasing by getting grass-fed beef, right? And you don't have to take as many omega-3s. You don't have to take the CLA orally via pills when you just get it in your real whole food sources. And yes, you're going to pay a little bit more, but there's a reason for it, right? It's just it's more nutrient dense, which I think there are also more micronutrients in grass-raised beef, right? Or grass-fed beef.
There are vitamin E, which is an antioxidant.
Yeah. Which battles oxidative stress, which any
person who is training or who has a full-time job or who has a family or anything else stressful in their life is going to be exposed to oxidative stress.
Yeah, helps with like the antioxidants like vitamin E with cell regeneration and eliminating free radicals, like disease prevention, things like that. So, wow, everyone go have some grass-fed beef for dinner tonight. But I know that it's expensive. That was a hard thing as we were starting to clean up our diet and pick certain foods. We had to really decide where to start because an overhaul was like just too much.
Yeah.
Well,
And we started with who's in prep. They're eating all organic food.
yeah.
And then it's been recently, now that's the one thing that we splurge on, right? The vast majority of food that you and I eat is organic, grass-fed, pasture-raised.
And we consume 93.7 on most cases.
Yeah, which is a nice medium, right? It's a little pricier, but you can also, you go to Walmart and get those saddle packs, which it's like 3 pounds for it's like 20. Man, I think I want to say it's like up to $24 now, but still $8 a pound is not terrible for red meat.
I think I'd be 22.
And that's what I was thinking. I wanted to say, but it used to be like $18. It used to be 70 to change.
Yeah. Aldi too, you can get grass-fed beef for a pretty good price. Because it's hard. You have to scour and find what stores are going to offer a reasonable price. Meat is hard to find reasonable prices.
Yeah. In Florida, we go to Sprouts, Whole Foods, Publix, and Walmart, all for different things. Oh, and Costco, all for different foods.
Aldi.
Yeah, and Aldi. Because you get different prices for different things. Like we go to Sprouts for milk and eggs. We go to Whole Foods if we're going to get, a nice steak dinner because surprisingly enough, their top sirloin, in my opinion, tastes the best and it's the best price that I can find. And yeah, so like, it's just,
You make it work.
yeah, do your due diligence. And there are ways to make it happen. Again, it's a priority list. And if you just got to go to one store, you don't have time to go around different stores throughout the week, that's perfectly fine.
That happens to us sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, we have to
Bite the bullet. Yeah. And you got to get, so, okay. I'm around.
No, you're great. But beef is very good. I think people get scared of beef in general because
it's sort of demonized.
of heart issues. But I will say this, because when I was in dietetic school, they told us that cholesterol issues did not come from consumption of cholesterol, and that it was actually the intake of saturated fat that was causing heart issues and high cholesterol readings in lab work. So it's just important. And actually dietary cholesterol is so important for hormone health. So we want to make sure that we actually are consuming some cholesterol. It's saturated fat that we probably should be a little bit conservative on. That's why you don't need to have 70, 30 beef. 90, 93 is great. You get your cholesterol, you get a little bit of saturated fat. Those things are fine.
Yeah. Which, going back to the turkey shaped person you were talking about earlier, she also made the comment that, I was buying 80 or 85 and I was cooking that 93 off for you, and there's plenty of fat in that beef. Like, there's no reason to buy this 80 or 85 for fat content, right? So I think,
Pay a little more for cheap for.
yeah, and that's the difference, and sometimes, I've strained my beef and, after I cook it to try to get some of that out so that when I cook it again, it doesn't get mixed in with the rice that I put in there and mix it in. But again, depends on what stage of prep you're in. Prep, whether it's, prepping for a show or competition or going through life and wanting to make sure that you're making healthy choices on a daily basis. And I think to your point about the cholesterol, this whole push for lowering people's cholesterol is relatively new. And I just want to point out that the myelin sheath, which is the enclosure for your nerve endings, is made largely of cholesterol and other lipids. And when you severely deplete your body's cholesterol levels, you're going to start to experience brain fog first, and potentially even some like nerve damage, because those nerve endings are now the cholesterol sheathing is getting smaller and smaller and thinner, and those nerve endings are starting to get exposed, and you might get something like fibromyalgia or some of these other issues that are popping up. So
Yeah, I ate low fat for a very, very long time. I'm diagnosed with fibromyalgia.
yeah, I read one time that all the people living right now over 100 years old have cholesterol numbers over 300. I don't know if that's true or not, but I know that back in the day they were not taught these cholesterol numbers that people are taught now. They say, well, new research and blah blah blah, but man, I'm just not convinced, because the other thing that was taught was blood pressure readings, right? And it used to be, I think, 110 plus half your age or something, so it's supposed to go up as you age. And now, because we have blood pressure medication, they tell you it has to be 120 over 80, and as soon as you go over 130, 135, they're going to put you on this blood pressure medication. And I'll put my tinfoil hat on real quick. Bobby was not a huge fan of pharmaceuticals, especially when they're prescribed before a training and dietary intervention, which is the epidemic of the modern healthcare system in America right now, is pharmaceuticals being prescribed before lifestyle changes. And the argument against that is, I think, is that, it's not our doctor's responsibility to make sure that we're living a healthy life, but I feel like that is what the doctor's right? That the doctor's supposed to be keeping you healthy. And going to the gym and eating better is going to be keeping you healthy. That's what they should be telling you to do. But because that's not what they're doing necessarily, I think it also depends on the doctor, right? We have some nurse friends and doctor friends who I'm sure they tell people you need to fucking get to the gym, man.
Yeah. Well, I think there's also criteria that doctors have to fulfill. There's no education for, I think, the general population.
Pushback from insurance companies.
Like, I think there's a lot of hang-ups, so why there is some dysfunction. But I would agree. I think health and your diet should always be a part of your lifestyle. And then if you need further intervention, that's the benefit of having.
Yeah. I think Western medicine is great for acute interventions, right? Like, you break your arm, go to the hospital. Yeah, get it splinted, right? Get it fixed. You have the bubonic plague. Yeah, probably we'll get an antibiotic for that. But you're fat and you haven't tried any other intervention, then okay, well, let's try just like moving around a little more first and see what happens. See how much better you feel. Because there are plenty of people who do triathlons and eat a really healthy lifestyle, and they would still be categorized as like overweight or obese, but they're living a pretty healthy life and they're happy and they're comfortable, right? Like, healthy doesn't look exactly the same on every single person, right? And they're also like, there are periods of my life where I am like a very unhealthy person, and I try to make them for as short a time as possible. Usually it's like through high stress times where, like, run an event, I might not eat for a week and I might live on energy drinks because I'm just like, no, I can't afford to stop. I have to like keep doing this. And of course that's also self-imposed too, right? Like, how often do we think that to ourselves? But no, you actually do have 10 minutes to sit here. I brought in this food. Just sit down and like eat it and shove it in your mouth for 10 minutes. So, yeah, it's when I can go on and on about that too. But,
No one's perfect.
Exactly.
We're all trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And we're all trying to find out what it is that health means to us.
Yes, exactly. Because everyone's life is different. And it's just, yeah. So, beef, grass-fed, more omega-3s, more CLA, more vitamin E.
Yeah.
Potentially more micronutrients, or as we'll discuss in milk later on, maybe some lower micronutrients compared to Fortify, but it's probably more bioavailable of those micronutrients because it's natural and real, versus synthetically derived and made.
Yeah.
Does that sum it up?
That was great. You did great. You passed.
Excellent. I was paying attention. I promise.
You did great.
Let's talk about chicken.
Yeah. Okay.
Everyone's favorite protein.
Yes. Yeah. So everyone, you'll go into the grocery store and you'll see the labels that say antibiotic free. So that's like, oh, special chicken.
Fake advertising.
Special chicken doesn't have antibiotics. Well, farmers were using antibiotics in the past to kind of like pump up this meat to be able to sell. They're not allowed to do that anymore. That is supposed to be federally regulated. But you can give antibiotics to your chicken if your chicken is ill. So it doesn't mean that the chicken never was exposed to antibiotics. They do have to pass a certain test to say they're antibiotic free when they are butchered and sold to you. But whether or not it says antibiotic free or not on there, that's the general rule. Now, organic farms will not, to my knowledge, I never been to an organic farm really that much, the whole thing, but should not be using antibiotics. They have different regulation when it comes to raising their chicken, which is why their prices are more expensive. Like you were saying to me right before this podcast, there's less waste. If you have a sick chicken and you make it healthy and then you can sell it, you have no loss.
Yeah.
You have a organic farm that has sick chickens, that chicken is probably not going to be sold, which is going to impact your profit, so to speak.
Yeah, the shelf life is probably going to be lower as well. So you have a short time frame where you can sell it. You might have more waste at the back end as well. So you have waste in the front end and the back end.
Yes. Now, organic chickens are categorized as birds fed certified organic grain. No antibiotics, and they're given outdoor access. So there is, from my research, slightly increased in omega-3 content. Your, protein content is going to be generally the same. Conventional farming, let's see, they're, again, how the animal is raised is going to be very different on an organic farm versus a conventional farm. Your experience helps determine what you're exposed to, affects you on the inside. So there are just things to consider when you are purchasing protein. So
yeah, and I think the bigger difference is in the eggs, right? Versus the studies on beef show like pretty big differences in the micronutrients, like the omega-3 CLAs and micronutrients, the vitamin E content from grass-fed to not grass-fed. But I think for chickens, for organic versus not organic, if there is no pasture-raised moniker on there, I think it is going to be very similar because, like you said, they have a very similar lifestyle. They're still going to be farming in there, and they might just be fed, they might get some better feed with that is either, not genetically modified and doesn't have pesticides, systemically invested in those foods. But they're still probably not moving around very much. Like you said, they have outdoor access. We were looking at that earlier on like USDA. I think it just says some outdoor access, and basically it doesn't have any provision, doesn't have any hard provision, unless it's organic, which, normal organic outdoor access, I think, up to 6 hours of outdoor access per day. Whereas the organic pasture raised is they have outdoor access all year, and they have an enclosure outside that they have access to. So it's kind of the opposite.
okay.
So, yeah, I think we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about eggs next. So that's a good pairing with the chicken.
Yeah, I think for chicken, the thing to consider too is when I was reading a lot of studies and they were saying like organic versus grain fed or conventionally raised, is I think how they were determining it.
Yeah, okay, a lot of times, unless it's pasture raised, they're still probably grain fed.
Yeah, so it's just basically like something that's deemed organic versus not. They're saying there's, maybe some difference in like the profile of the food and like the micronutrients, but not a ton. And I think one thing to consider is a chicken. No, I've been out here watching these chickens. They roam around and they like pick food. They eat bugs. Like they eat a lot of different.
Yeah, they have to walk around a lot to find their food.
So they're moving a lot. They're eating different things. And your organic farms are going to be in different regions. They're going to have you're going to have animals exposed to different foliage. And I think there could be a large variation from one organic farm to another. So we're doing studies. Like, I think that there's lots of variables because you have an organic farm that has a chicken eating like certain types of bugs here across the country. They're eating certain types of bugs here. And remember, what you eat affects what you are. So I think that kind of leaves a little bit to be desired when we're determining what is actually helpful or not.
Yeah.
I tried to buy organic chicken because I just feel better about making that choice.
Yeah.
But whether or not there's hard evidence that it's definitely better than something conventionally raised, I can't say that I found anything.
Yeah, well, I think another thing to be cognizant of is a big buzzword right now is glyphosate, right, which is a pesticide that's used largely in the vast majority of crops and grain, fruits and veggies processing, and that has been linked to a lot of different inflammation and different types of digestive system illnesses like Crohn's disease, IBS, and etc. Like even like gluten sensitivity has theoretically been cleared up in some people when they cut out the glyphosate. You're able to eat gluten, but as long as it is like organic process. And so, I think that's an important differentiation there, which like, okay, maybe the actual chicken doesn't have more or less omega-3s or more or less protein or more or less whatever, but has it been tested for these glyphosate levels? Has it been tested for these other levels that are passed on to these conventionally raised chickens through their feed that the organically raised chickens would not get? So I think that's something to remember as well. And also, like you were talking about, how they're raised, I think is more important because if they're able to get up and walk around, they're going to have a much better like muscle density profile versus a much more sedentary chicken. It's going to just be a little fatty, right? And like it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier with the organic beef versus the conventionally raised beef. The conventionally raised beef is going to have a higher fat content, and it's because it's a more sedentary environment. Like they're crammed in there, they're more exposed to like other animals' excrement, and it's just a dirtier process, right? Whereas you get the pasture-raised stuff, not only is your money going towards supporting these farms that are practicing better, more sustainable farming practices, but your body is being better fueled.
It's just hard to have an organic farm.
Yeah.
It's a whole process.
Yeah, you have to go through, I think it's 3 years that you have to be following these protocols that are costing you more money than other conventional farms before you can even say that you're an organic farm. And you have to pay for the certification. So there are a lot of farms out there that are practicing organic farming methods that are not organically certified because they're not going to pay the fee that the USDA wants. So they don't have that USDA certified organic sticker on their stuff. We went to a farmer's market down in South Florida, and a lot of people shop there because it's all from local farms. And it's just, but it's tough, right? Because we don't know what they're doing, and unfortunately, that little sticker does tell us at least what those places are doing.
Correct.
But that's not to say that other local farms that are not USDA certified organic. This is not to say that those farms aren't doing a better job at producing better products than these USDA certified organic farms. So, so let's dive into the different monikers that are used to describe how chickens are raised, and usually it's just on egg cartons that you see all these wild, silly,
so many egg
descriptions. Yeah.
All right, so let's just go through them. Cage free. That means the chickens are not in cages.
That's pretty much all it means. That's all that it means.
So where they are could be outside. It could be shoved in a barn. It could be.
It's probably not outside. It's probably in a barn, and they are probably chicken. And when one of these chickens gets sick, I've seen videos. It's disgusting. They flood the whole thing with like a foam, and it just suffocates all of them because they're so close together and there's nowhere for them to go. So yeah, cage-free farming, not ideal, right? Because they are just as close together as if they are in cages. They probably can't move very much at all, and they are still inside on a dirt floor because there's nothing there. It's been pecked clean, 10 years ago. So
don't waste your money on that.
Yes, you might as well just get normal stuff if you're going to go for the cage free versus, not specified at all. It's probably going to be very, very similar.
All these labels are made to make it confusing.
Marketing.
Clear it out. Okay, farm fresh.
All eggs are from a farm. They're all farm fresh.
Raw fresh.
Okay.
So it means nothing.
Yeah, that's just an advertising slogan. That's all it is. Do not get fooled by farm fresh eggs. Unless it's your neighbor with chickens telling you they're fresh off the farm and there's chicken poop and feathers on those eggs.
Oh gosh. Okay. Yep. That's fresh. Free range.
Free range. This one sounds a little bit better,
Mm-hmm.
but the determinant factor of this is that they have 2 square feet of outdoor space per chicken. That's like this much for anyone on video. It's really not that much. It's a tiny amount of space, so it's marginally better than cage free. But these chickens are also, I think they're supposed to have outdoor access up to 6 hours a day. But USDA again does not really have a firm criteria for that. So it could be as little as 2 hours a day. It can be as little as a barn that's not airtight, right? They're very lenient on what this stuff means.
Yeah, and like free range, like you have to have the combination of free range and a certified humane, to be able to, for it to be a chicken that has that.
That process, and yes,
So if they write free, if it's just free range, that just means they're not in a cage again.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean and they maybe have, they'd have some little bit outdoor access, but free range is complicated.
yeah,
Natural.
all natural. Well,
I mean,
if it's not made by Bill Gates, if it's not lab grown meat, but they might even call that
that's true. Yeah. But that really doesn't mean anything.
yeah,
On any label,
Yeah.
that means nothing.
because natural flavors,
That means nothing.
natural flavoring is synthetically derived. Yeah, it might be like from bugs or something, but it's still a process to make this stuff that is not. When you see natural flavoring for apple juice or something, generally it's not going to be from that thing. It's going to be from a flavoring. It's not. Yeah, I don't know how to explain it better than that, but do not be fooled by this stuff
Natural means nothing. That's
Yeah.
the takeaway.
nowadays. Yeah.
No hormones. Well, we talked about that.
Yeah, I don't know that. Well, you'll see all the time that there's been studies have shown no difference between RBST treated cows and cows not treated with this growth hormone and blah blah blah.
Yeah. I do look for that when I buy cheese. That's a no.
Yeah, I'm just not sure how much I believe that, because I've also read about how there's birth control in our water supply now because so many women are on birth control and the urinate goes through a water treatment plant and then it gets put back out, but not all of that birth control is taken out of that urine water. So now it's getting pumped back into the city water supply. So yeah, I'm not convinced about these claims that there has been.
Everybody moved to farms now. Yeah. Everybody clear out.
Yep.
Go ahead. I cut you off.
I'm just not convinced. Yeah. Hormones are tricky
Yeah.
and generally not something that's tested for.
Correct.
And even in small doses, they can affect your mentality and your performance in large ways.
I agree. I very much agree.
So yeah, the more that we can minimize the ingestion or even the adjacent ingestion of these hormones and antibiotics and other synthetic things, I think the better off you're going to be.
Also, it's, yeah. I think for kids as well too, you want to be real careful
Yes.
about what you're consuming, especially as you're developing, because you have a lot of stuff going on hormonally, and your food is, I do believe, directly correlated. So from my own personal experience. So yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, how would you categorize? I feel like I'm quizzing you. Organic.
So that just has to do with their feed, right?
Yeah.
I guess it also has to do with the practices on a farm, right? They probably can't use these pesticides on their farm to like kill weeds or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they have grains grown without synthetic pesticides or GMOs. That's what they're fed. They cannot be raised in cages or given antibiotics. They must have outdoor access. But again, that's a complicated area of what
It's a sales term.
looks like.
Authorized. This is a sales term.
How about pasture raised?
Okay, so pasture raised is probably going to be the best option for chickens or eggs or beef because generally speaking, I think it's 108 square feet per hen, which is a bigger plot. It's still only 10 by 10, right? Or more, it's a little more than that, but it's not an enormous space for these chickens. But I think also, and it might also have to be certified humane, but they have to have a pasture rotation schedule.
Yes.
So it's basically practicing regenerative farming, right? These chickens forage in this one little space for a while, and then they move to another little space that has not been overly foraged by them, so that this other space can start to regrow back. And then they move. And I think the Vital Farms eggs they talk about, they have like I think 6 or 8 different pastures or something, and they move around throughout the year. So yeah, pasture raised organic, pasture raised certified humane is going to be your best option for having the most nutrient dense animal products.
Yes. Yes. Very well said. Some fun tips. Brown eggs are
Painted. Who said that?
brown eggs have the same nutritional value as white eggs. Everyone thinks brown eggs are better. But brown eggs can be more expensive because of the type of hen. Might be a little bit more work to raise and care for. Because different color eggs are just coming from different types of breeds of hens. So that's the only difference. Nutritionally, they are the same. Organic eggs can have more omega-3s. They can. And more vitamins than conventionally farmed eggs. But again, it's depending a lot on the hen's diet. So when we're talking about conventionally raised and grass-fed or organic, is a lot of depending on what they have exposure to and what they get to consume. Let's see. Conventionally conventional eggs have the same core nutrients as others, but can have lower levels of certain beneficial fatty acids and vitamins. But we do have eggs that are fortified now. So that's another thing to, like Eggland's Best. They do have eggs that they add vitamins to.
Which, just for the record, I'm not a fan of pretty much any fortified foods.
If you have put on yet.
But
I think if you have a deficiency and you have a medical issue and you need aid, like that's a different story. But I think for a general consumer,
yeah, I'd rather get those from quality supplements, right?
True.
Which will be
True.
part 3 of this mini series.
Yeah.
Supplementation, but and eat your whole foods, eat your organic foods, eat your pasture-raised foods, get all the nutrients that you can. And if you still have a deficiency, you need to take some vitamin D, you need to take some zinc, some magnesium. Okay, do that, but do it through some like specific intentional supplementation rather than just a carpet bombing approach and buying foods that are labeled as fortified because, they're fortified with extra vitamins and minerals. Okay, well, is that doing anything for you, right? Is that beneficial to you? And one of our coaching principles here is do everything with intention, right? We should not be doing anything just to do it. We should not be going through the motions. Everything that we're doing should have a specific reason. And it's the same thing with food that we're adjusting. It's the same thing with supplementation. You shouldn't just go to GNC and say, hey, build a stack for me and let this guy sell you $500 worth of supplements and then go home and take them all just arbitrarily, right? Like you may or may not be doing benefit or harm to your body. And it's very important to know specifically why you're doing things that you're doing. And that's our goal with the podcast, is to like explain these things, to give you the tools that you need to be able to make the decisions for yourself and not have to take someone else's word for it. Including ours, right? Like we're an unmatched investor. Okay. So if you want supplements, buy unmatched supplements, but we're not out here like saying, hey, you should be buying this Perking. You need these BCAAs. You need this, you need that. We want to show you the information that we have arrived at these conclusions. The information that have allowed us to arrive at these conclusions.
We're not getting paid to say anything we're saying today.
Yes, there you go. That's what I'm saying.
We have no agenda except to help people.
Yeah.
Or share what we know to be true.
Yeah. And initiate a discussion, right? Hey, if someone out there like has found something contrary to what we're saying, or that could be a good addition to what we're saying, we always encourage people to reach out and either ask questions or offer perspectives, because we are just two people who are figuring it all out. Like we're navigating so that we have made this our life so that we can help others navigate this crazy world of health and fitness, who may not have the same amount of time to devote towards researching these topics as we do. So we want to give you a solid jumping off point to where, you, like I said, you have some good tools in your tool belt to be able to help perpetuate your progress.
Okay. Egg whites.
Shut you see. Egg whites. Was really good. So there's two different ways you have egg whites, right? You have pasteurized egg whites in carton,
Uh-huh.
and you can separate your egg whites by hand out of the eggs. You want to talk about the differences there?
Yeah. I separate my eggs.
Why?
Because I've had less digestive issues than drinking.
Yeah, there are egg whites.
Egg whites from carton. And I am not the only person that has expressed that. I've heard other people say that as well too. Where they say, I can't eat egg whites, it makes me bloated, so I don't eat them in prep, or I don't eat them on peak week. I've taken a food intolerance test and been told that I can't have eggs. And I eat eggs regularly now, and I have no issue. So
Yeah, which also the food intolerance test, if you have leaky gut, you're probably going to get a lot of pains on that test. And like we talked about earlier, actually, I don't know if we've talked about gut permeability yet, but we do have a couple items in here that discuss that. But yeah, it's all tied together. It's all tied together.
inflammation and gut issues are largely related. But yeah, so the point of egg whites is they're great for like in a low fat protein source. I buy a case from Sprouts because it's actually pretty.
It went for free range too, right?
It's good price. I think so.
It's like 4 or 5 dozen eggs. I think it's 60 eggs. Free range eggs for like $12.
Right. Yeah, but when
No, it's one flat. It's 2.5 dozen.
Yeah.
For $12.
so it's not bad, and that works for me. I don't eat the pasteurized egg whites. Also, we were trying to cook pasteurized egg whites, and it was like sticking to the pan. It was like a hot mess. So the actual whole egg whites do cook better.
Yeah, it could better. And if you're a baker, if you use these as an ingredient in dishes, what is it? I think like it doesn't. You might not be able to use the pasteurized egg whites for certain things.
It may have a different cooking.
In cooking, yeah, it might not whip up like you want to, or whatever. So
But egg yolks are good.
yes, I am a big fan of saying that everything needed for proper brain development, right? So as choline,
Very good for your brain.
yeah,
Choline's very good for your brain. Yeah, choline, vitamin D, omega-3s, a lot is in the yolk. So I have 1 yolk a day. But I would recommend, if you tolerate it, obviously, that you don't just always eat lean protein all the time. We look at healthy ways to consume animal fats, and a yolk is a very, very good way to do that.
yeah. I think that dietary fat has been demonized for so long that people may like only think about the macronutrient profile, and they might not think about the micronutrient profile that certain foods have to offer.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's important. Like you always harp on me, like food variety is very important. And I'm a goer. Like I'm just going to keep going. And once I know what macros I have to eat, I develop my meals, and that's what I eat every day. And if I didn't have you, I would not have any food variety in my diet, or I would just be eating junk food all the time. No, that probably obviously protein, but you're very good. You are a very good role model at getting that food variety, and it reminds me that like food tastes good, right? And so often I think people they think that moving away from eating out all the time, moving away from ultra processed foods, moving away from a bunch of sweets every single day, they feel like they're restricting themselves. But if you cook up some peppers and onions and you put that in your beef, and you're all of a sudden your ground beef tastes completely different. Or you just do onions and mushrooms, or you just do onions and garlic, or you add some fruit to your breakfast, or there's just so many different things that you could do to increase the palatability of these foods that are just, I think it's easier than people think to make the swap, but I think that's what it comes down to, is making a switch instead of restricting.
Yeah. And I think making switch. So you said you can make good, like healthy food taste really good.
Yeah. Just look at Gordon Ramsay.
Butter that steak.
No, he cooks the steak in a little bit of olive oil. Put a little olive oil in there. And he cooks something else in butter.
Yeah,
Potatoes or something.
I love cooking shows. Okay. So that's pretty much all I want to touch on the big points. Pretty self-explanatory since we talked about it.
Yeah, they're pretty basic. Yeah.
We have organic dairy, or just dairy in general, and then produce, and then we'll be wrapping it up.
Great. Yeah.
So, if we're thinking about organic dairy, it means it excludes synthetic hormones, genetically modified feed, and should have an improved omega-3 to 6 fatty acid balance, which Gwen did do research and investigated that, and that did come up. Organic milk has been shown to contain a favorable fatty acid profile, better than conventional milk, contains more polyunsaturated fatty acids. It has omega-6 and 3, but it has a better ratio of 6:3, which, if we know, we already talked about omega-3s being helpful for brain health, for disease prevention, for a lot of things. Omega-6, we get plenty of that through a normal diet. So an overabundance of omega-6 can create inflammation. So while we need it, it's like way too much in a normal American diet. So making sure that ratio is complementary will help with just overall health.
Which a lot of those omega-6s come from seed oils, whether it's canola oil, sunflower seed oil.
Just an overconsumption.
Yeah. The typical industrialized processing oils that we see in ultra-processed foods. So that's why the typical American is going to have a higher level of omega-6 versus omega-3. And just on kind of a side tangent, if you're buying like fish oil for the omega-3s, make sure you look at that ingredients list and look at the concentration of EPA, DHA versus just fish oil. And you want as high a concentration of that as possible. I think what we get right now is, it's like a 1,400 milligram pill, and 980 milligrams of that is omega-3 fatty acids. So it's a relatively high percentage. Whereas, we've seen some where it's like a 2-gram dosage, and you're getting 200 to 300 milligrams of omega-3s, which is like 10%, right? Versus the 66% that ours is. So yeah, it's very important. And again, you're going to pay more for the higher concentration of omega-3s. But you get what you pay for, right? At the end of the day, it's essentially the same price for the EPA and DHA concentration.
We transit in the middle of the road somewhere. Like good, but like in the middle. We can't.
Yeah, not all the supplements are exactly what we want yet.
Yeah.
But the like I said earlier, the vast majority of our food is organically raised and pasture raised. So
Yes, exactly. And your organic dairy will have higher CLA as well, which we talked about with beef. So similarities with your grass-fed beef and grass-fed dairy is
your omegas and your CLA content.
Yeah.
They have done studies that conventionally produced milk has higher heavy metal content. So that's something just to be aware of. Organic dairy had much lower mineral content, like in general. Yes. But again, that's going to be dependent on what a cow's eating, what it's exposed to, blah, blah, blah. You've heard this story before. But the heavy metal content in conventional milk, is just something to be careful of. And they will often fortify conventional raised milk as well. They'll add some. So while you might get like more helpful minerals in conventional milk than organic, you also be consuming some heavy metal content. So
Yeah.
you said you noticed a big difference in the flavor of.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Even like right now we have organic, but it's not grass fed.
You notice a difference.
Yeah. I really, really prefer organic grass fed milk, which unfortunately is like $10 and $12 a gallon. And we were just at Fred Meyer and they had the normal milk. It was normally like $3 or $4 a gallon on sale for $1.93.
Oh,
And it's again cost benefit analysis. You and I have some pretty hefty athletic aspirations, and when it comes to gathering every percent of benefit that we can, we're going to do that. We're bringing it to our body. But some other people might not necessarily need that level of attention.
I'll never buy something that makes me feel bad. It makes my body. If I know eating this makes me feel bad, I'll never spend my money on it.
Yeah.
If I am in a tight place with a budget, I sometimes, if there's like close in price, I'll buy something organic one week and I'll buy something that's not another week. There's some things that we only buy organic, but if there's something that's like, it's really in question. And that way also it allows me to see how I feel. Like yogurt now, like I have to be like very particular about what type of, because I notice skin issues. I'll be like more acne, or I'll have more gut irritation if I'm consuming dairy that is not organic or ultra filter or whatever. I know which brands I do well with. I know which brands don't. And I read labels and there's some brands that say all the right things on there. And like, this should be fine. But I know how I feel when I'm consuming it. So, some people I think it can get away with more, and that's fine. But if that helps someone like ease the burden of like, hey, maybe this week I'm going to buy grass-fed beef, but I got to buy like regular milk. And next week I'm going to buy grass-fed milk, but I got to buy regular beef. Like I got to make up the difference somehow until it's like more like an easier avenue into like a...
Well, it's also, you can cut out other areas too, right? Like you and I don't go out to eat.
That's very true.
Right? If we're going to have a date night, generally speaking, we're going to Whole Foods and I'm cooking dinner for us, and it's, or we are cooking dinner and it's like kind of a dinner.
No, you were being honest. You were cooking dinner. You could tell.
Most of the time, but sometimes they come and do it with me and I enjoy it.
Great job.
But it's a fun thing, right? Like you get to cook, or you get to be cooked for, and I get to cook for you, and both of us enjoy both of those two things.
Yeah.
So, and I don't love being in public. I don't love being around a ton of people. Okay, surprise, surprise. So being able to be with my human in my home and have the highest quality food possible for the same price, or maybe even less than I would have been going out to eat, is a win in my book. And I like doing the process of cooking the food. So, which not everyone's going to have that benefit, right? Some people would prefer to go out and be served, and that's perfectly fine.
I love
moderation.
Yes, that's exactly right. And I love knowing like what exactly I'm eating. So
Yeah, was there a ton of butter put in these mashed potatoes when they made them?
sometimes certain oils that restaurants cook with upset my stomach. I feel really lethargic the next day. Like, Sometimes not. Sometimes it's great.
Well, and also, I think what your body gets used to, right? Because I used to eat Chick-fil-A all the time, and the last time I had Chick-fil-A, my body was not happy, and I got rid of that Chick-fil-A as fast as possible. Same thing with Diego. He didn't like the Chick-fil-A either. So yeah, it's and when I met you, I didn't eat anything organic or grass-fed, and I even told you I didn't taste the difference in beef. I do, but it's because I wasn't paying attention to it, right? And when we're not thinking about these things, and someone tells you that is different, when you haven't thought to observe that variable, you probably don't have the experience to be able to speak on it, but your brain is going to tell you, no, there's no difference in that variable because you haven't seen it. But it's because you weren't looking for it, not because it's not there.
That's true. Yeah.
Excuse me. So yeah, I think it definitely requires a little bit of attention when we're starting out on this journey of figuring out what our body needs and where we need to be intentional with our purchases. So yeah, it's not first of all, it's not an overnight fix. It's a stepwise process. It's going to take some time, and it's not the same for everyone. And I think that all of those variables, all of those items, all those points are very important for people to remember.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, okay, dining produce.
Yeah. Okay, so there is a list called the Dirty Dozen or Clean 15, where there's an organization, environmental working group. They're a nonprofit, and you just kind of like go through and they test different produce. They see what it comes off with, high levels of pesticides, and they put them on these designated lists so you kind of know how to shop. This has been nice because there's been times where I just can't afford to buy everything organic.
Today. He had buffer vegetable and kiwis.
Yeah, so like knowing like, okay, this Dirty Dozen is like the list of things that really needs to be bought organic. If you're going to consume it, it's highly encouraged that you buy it organic because there's the least amount of pesticides. So things, let's see, what are some things that are on there? Do I even have a list?
Yes. So includes spinach, strawberries, kale, collards, grapes, peaches, cherries, nectarines, pears. Did I say that already? Apples,
Really?
blackberries, blueberries, potatoes.
Okay, so they just added blackberries to that as well too. That came on this year. But it was the first time they actually tested, I think, blackberries.
Wait, around here, we are like enclosed by blackberry bushes. My sister-in-law's ants came out and they went picking. And what is
The chickens are.
Oh, they're here.
They're trying to get on the podcast.
They went around picking these blackberries, and no, they're not certified organic, but no one's spraying pesticide on this property, so
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of a tangent, but anyway, they made some blackberry pie that neither of us had, but I hear it was delicious.
Okay, yeah. So they're fruits and vegetables. You can Google it and find out online, and you can see the list. That's I in the store sometimes. I'm like, what is on that list? I don't have to Google it and see like, okay, I can actually buy regular kiwis because they're safer. Still, probably better to buy organic. Let's just be honest.
Yeah,
but
because a lot of the non-organic stuff is systemically introduced, so it's not necessarily sprayed on these plants. It's usually put into the fertilizer, which is picked up by the roots, and it makes the plants less susceptible to insect infestation or etc. So yeah, it's tough, but these lists definitely make it easier to do what we were talking about earlier, which is kind of pick and choose on a weekly basis where we can splurge and where we have capital back a little bit.
exactly, yeah. And Clean 15, they have mammal residue reported on them. So that's kind of how we're categorized.
Yeah. So the Clean 15 is going to be pineapple, sweet corn, avocados, papaya, onions, sweet peas, asparagus, cabbage, watermelon, mangoes,
carrots, mushrooms, kiwis, and bananas and cauliflowers just joined the Clean 15 this year. So it was the Clean. Congrats, 15 13. Yeah, sorry, you made it.
You made the Clean 15. So here's something people wonder. So we're talking about pesticides. Like, why should you care about pesticides? There's many types of things that you can categorize as, let's see. Okay, here we go. Sorry, I was trying to read my notes. Pesticides can irritate the skin or the eyes. They can be carcinogens. They also can affect hormone and endocrine health. So, we think sometimes these things are innocuous or they're meant to keep bugs away.
Yeah, well, the FDA said it's safe and effective. Wait, no, that's
But ingesting them can be compromising to your health. So that's why you want to be super careful about what types of produce you're eating because of like how they are farmed and processed.
Yeah, and I see this graph on here that there are over 200 different pesticides. And yeah, there's a lot. There's just a lot to look out for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Some people say that you could do like a wash. Some people like wash in vinegar. I did some research when I said 30 seconds soak in a solution of 2 teaspoons of baking soda and 1 quart of water has been shown to be more effective than any other like household clean my vegetable product. Very simple, super cheap. But keep in mind, something does not have a tough barrier, like berries. Remember that stuff can leach into your food if it has a permeable outer coat, which most fruits and vegetables are. Some are a little bit tougher than others. Some are in the brown. You can peel off the skin, but there's benefits to the skin as well. There's just like a myriad of things you can go into here when it comes to produce, but I think that's a pretty easy hack when you're shopping for produce and you're wondering, should I buy this organic or not? Kind of look at those lists and you kind of make an informed decision from there.
Yeah. Our goal is to eventually eat all organic pasture-raised food. Our real end goal is to be able to grow some of our own fruits and veggies. Maybe have some fruit trees, have some raised beds for some vegetables.
I hope everyone's seeing this chickens in the window right now. It's
How good they are.
oh, really?
But yeah, our chickens are coming and hang out and check out what's happening.
This thing is eyeballing me. Sorry, we go up.
No, that's okay. I think, having more control over your food chain, so to speak, I think is like the be all end all. And then having some knowledge on how the farm to table process works in America is the next most important thing, so that you can just make these informed decisions on the best bang for your buck when you go to the grocery store and you are deciding which of these foods will most efficiently fuel weight aspirations, whatever they are, whether it's bodybuilding stage, whether it's powerlifting platform, whether it is a CrossFit competition or strongman competition, or like we said earlier, whether you are just a parent and you are trying to be the best role model possible, so that your kids eat as healthy as possible as well for their development too. So, because that's not just going to make them a better, stronger human. It's going to make them a happier human. Better nutrition profiles. It's going to help more with anxiety and depression. It's going to help with a set like gut flora, because and they've done so much research on how the gut microbiome influences things like PTSD and anxiety, depression, just happiness in general. I take a probiotic. It's labeled mood by Garden Life, and it's specifically to help with mood. So yeah, there's a lot of variables to take into account, and when it's not your life, man, it's tough to navigate. It really is. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're trying to do here, is just help you navigate your nutrition,
which I think should be happening on a regular basis. I guess like sometimes people get the idea like, and I need to be in a certain phase or chapter of focusing on my health, and really you're going to get more return on your investment if it's consistent over time.
Yes.
And you're not waiting until there's an issue or a problem to like create some nutritional intervention.
You're creating a lifestyle. You're not dieting. And that's the difference. And that's how we coach our clients is marathon mentality and it's lifestyle alterations, not now you're impressed, we have to focus on this. Because even when someone's in a growing season, they still have tasks that they can check off on their checklist so that they know that they're bringing themselves closer to their goals on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And it's learning how to live this lifestyle to where it does not feel restrictive, to where it feels freeing, right? They say discipline is freedom, right? Routine is freedom. And it's because when you're routined, your time management becomes much more efficient. So it gives you freedom in the rest of your world. Whereas when you're all over the place, you are constantly having to like shift gears and figure out what you're supposed to be doing. And it's the same thing with your body. When your body can get into a nice, consistent routine, when it's not having to deal with a ton of excess systemic inflammation from either mental stress or food stress from a bunch of artificial preservatives or natural flavorings, it's your body's just going to work on better. So, yeah. Lots of takeaways here. Lots of information. And we didn't go into minute detail for all of these things on purpose because we could have had an hour-long podcast on each of these micro topics within this podcast. But hopefully we went over enough to give you guys some jumping off points and somewhere to start. And in addition to that, we created this PDF. It's called the Pantry Purge Checklist. Or maybe I named the Pantry Purge Cheat Sheet, something like that. But basically, it's supposed to help guide some of the food choices that we should be making on a regular basis. So it looks like we have a call on our podcast. Yeah. This is Tater, and he's a good boy.
Yeah, okay. Next time, if you are tuning in, you like this episode, we'll have part 2, which will be cooking oils and cookware.
Artificial
We're
sweetener,
going to talk about artificial sweetener.
emulsifiers, like all the hidden issues in a lot of these foods. Not even just the ultra processed, but some of the lightly processed foods that we might encounter. So,
Which we'll share about how we found those changes in our own lives as well too. Yes. I do feel like I have a lot less inflammation when I made a lot of changes within my food choices. They're less puffy. I feel leaner. I feel more efficient.
yeah, less joint pain for sure. Like when I eat a bunch of processed food, I get joint pain. I have skin issues.
Yes. So it does make a difference. But if you like this podcast, please share it with a friend, write us a review, repost us on Instagram. We're on Instagram. Now we're on TikTok. Where else are we?
Well, we have recklesstraining.com.
Yes.
Our website.
If you're interested in seeing what we offer for our coaching packages, you go on recklesstraining.com. You can DM us on Instagram. We're usually pretty good at responding to questions on there. But yeah, interact with us. We want to hear what you think. We want to hear how you like the podcast. And most of all of our contact information is available through our website if you need direct contact. Or on YouTube too, because you're probably watching. Okay, I think that's it. Tater, do you want to take us out?
Tater says, work hard, stay humble, and train reckless. Thanks for joining us, Tater.
How do I stop this?
The circle. Great. Come on. Good boy. Go ahead. Up. Stay.